So the concept that I want to introduce this evening in terms of the self-mastery concept, it's really around the understanding that all dysfunctional behavior has underlying positive intention. Okay, now this was actually researched by Dr. Milton Erickson. He's a highly renowned psychologist and hypnotherapist who, through the research and his teachings, he now teaches that even the most destructive behaviors, now this can be a bit of a tough one to chew on, right? But the teaching is every behavior, even those destructive ones, have an underlying positive intention. And it's really useful to understand that, because if we don't understand it, or if we don't come from the space of knowing that this part of me that's acting out in this dysfunctional way, or this part of me that's keeping me stuck, that I might refer to as the inner saboteur, or I might have some other judgmental name for it, it's actually trying to help me. And if I don't know that it's trying to help me, through the very judgment of that behavior, I'm keeping it stuck. I'm keeping it in a place of dysfunction, and I'm not allowing it to integrate, you know? So it's the understanding that allows for the integration and for the shift of the behavior. To illustrate this concept, every dysfunctional behavior has an underlying positive intention. We don't even need to really look into the research. We can simply look at real life examples. It could be something simple like, well, it's not really simple, it's quite a big one actually, like procrastination, which in itself is a dysfunctional behavior, or something seemingly more severe, like, you know, being addicted to a particular substance, which is a more extreme dysfunctional behavior. But if we were to look at those choices and those behaviors and ask the question, what is behind it? What is behind my choice to procrastinate? What is potentially the underlying belief behind that I'm carrying, or that a part of me is expressing and carrying? What is my underlying intention, or what am I trying to protect myself from through my addictive behavior? You know, usually it leads into some kind of protective mechanism. Using these examples of procrastination and addiction, and I'm just going to give you some hypothetical answers to illustrate what it might be or how this plays out. My tendency to procrastinate might very well be protecting me from rejection, protecting me from failure, protecting me from hurting myself. My tendency to be prone to addictive substances might be protecting me from emotional pain, you know, that doesn't want to be felt, or that a part of me might be unsafe to feel. So, you know, and this also plays out quite strongly in the family constellation work that I do, which I won't be going into at all right now, but it plays out strongly when we see what the energy of addiction actually looks like and how it expresses itself in an energetic field. It's actually coming through in a dysfunctional, supportive way. I'm trying to help you. I'm not doing it in the right way. It doesn't even know that it's not doing it in the right way. It's trying to help you. It's not doing it in the right way, but it's trying to help you. It's trying to protect you. So when we, instead of judging these behaviors, when we just sit with them and we contemplate them and we ask the question, where is this coming from? We start to get the deeper truth behind it. There's also a world-renowned hypnotherapist, Marissa Peer, who coaches the world's rich and famous. And she also teaches that the mind is always doing what it thinks you want it to do. Your mind is always doing what it thinks you want it to do. So what typically happens is, whatever we're doing in life, whatever choices we're about to make, the mind, without you even realizing it, is referencing your subconscious filing system and asking the question, what do we know about this? And based on your past, it will then throw out a particular reaction, okay? Another example, let's say, for example, I want to go and deliver a talk to 200 audience members at a webinar, and suddenly realizing that I'm going to be addressing 200 people, I start getting very nervous, and I actually can't even bring myself to sitting in front of the laptop to preparing my talk because there's resistance. I'm shitting myself. I don't quite know how I'm going to get through this. And I might screw it all up, and I'm feeling a lot of anxiety. Okay, so what's actually happening there, my own mind is creating the anxiety. It's not doing it to try and hurt me, it's doing it to try and keep me safe. My mind is going, what do we know about this situation? And for all my mind could be looking at an experience I had when I was 5 years old, where the kids on the playground bullied me and laughed at me and rejected me. And my mind is going, that is a very similar kind of experience where you might get laughed and rejected. It's dangerous, there's a red flag, and your mind starts throwing up all kinds of anxieties and procrastinations and resistance and self-sabotaging behaviors. The mind is actually trying to keep you safe. But what's happening is it's doing it in a dysfunctional way, and it's trying to keep you safe in an outdated way. It's trying to support an outdated version of you. So what we want to achieve through the self-mastery of this concept is creating a new message that overrides the old message. So instead of the mind looking at the past and going, what do we know about this? Oh, it's painful. Let's rather, drink a beer, or let's rather stay busy doing this, or let's rather sit on the couch and procrastinate, or let's rather avoid that relationship based on what happened in the past. We override the subconscious communication and go, hang on, I'm now making a conscious choice to do this. And it's a little bit like you're having a conversation with your own mind, okay, which does not mean you're crazy. It means you're developing self-mastery. Because when you speak to yourself and you give yourself an overriding message that what you're about to do is a good thing, that it's good for you, that when I go and deliver this talk to that audience, there's going to be amazing exposure, and it's okay to be nervous, because when I show my vulnerability on the stage and I allow them to see it and I own it, it's just going to give everyone permission, and they're going to see that in me, and it's going to be even more powerful. And I create a whole new narrative for my mind to embrace. What will happen is that overriding message eventually calms the mind down. The mind goes, oh, okay, I'm getting a new message that overrides the old manual from the subconscious. And then suddenly the procrastination disappears, the anxieties disappear. Okay. It doesn't happen overnight for some of our behaviors. Okay. If we've been addicted to a particular thing for a very long time, and thought can be an addiction, being addicted to a particular thought pattern, so these thought patterns and ways of doing things that have been around for many years, they do tend to create quite strong neural pathways. So I don't want you to for a moment to think that you can identify, your positive intention behind a dysfunctional behavior, and voila, suddenly, you are reborn into new choices. It doesn't quite work that way. You have to also be able to push through the resistance that might show up, So I'm going to take you through a process of how you can do that. The concept is every part of me is always trying to serve me, even when it's doing so in a dysfunctional way. Okay. We're not looking at the end result. We're not asking the question, yeah, but is it serving me? We already know that many of our choices aren't serving us. So there's obviously a difference between the intention and the impact. The impact is negative potentially, but the intention is positive. And what we want to do is align the two and make sure that we are meeting the positive intention with a new choice so that it has a positive impact and that there's a positive alignment. Okay. At this stage, I just want you to get the fact that every part of you is trying to serve you. And if you can just understand that, then we can start doing some work around that. Okay. To take this into a practical exercise, what I'm going to invite you to do right now, I'm going to keep it short, then we're going to go straight into the breath work in about 10 minutes time and breathe into it. Okay. But what I want you to do is just contemplate in your life right now, something that you're doing, a choice that you've made recently, maybe a choice that you keep making, that you continue to make, that simply isn't serving you. You know, a dysfunctional choice. Procrastination is quite a big one for many people, but it could also be not speaking your truth. It could be compromising yourself all the time for others, being a people pleaser. It could be actually being addicted to substances or addicted to watching too much TV or whatever it might be, you know. If you don't really have an idea of any dysfunctional choices that you might be sitting with, then I'm simply going to ask you to think about, think of something that you really want for your life. Maybe something that you've wanted for quite a while. Maybe it's more money, maybe it's more purpose, maybe it's better health. And then ask the question, well, why don't you have it? Because I can guarantee you, you are making certain choices that are preventing that thing from showing up. We can try to blame the external world for us not having what we want, but life doesn't work that way, because we have all the resources to achieve whatever we want when we take ownership of our thought processes and when we choose empowered thinking. So what thoughts are you thinking and what choices are you making that might be sabotaging your ideal life from showing up? Okay. And I think for this exercise, don't overthink it. Just pick something, a behavior or a choice that you know isn't serving you, but you did it anyway, or you do it anyway. Just going to give you a moment to hone in on something. And it can be anything. We just want to identify a dysfunctional behavior. Okay. Right. Does everyone have one? If you don't have one, just let me know that you haven't got one. Okay, cool. Right. So what we're going to do now, it's very simple. We're simply going to invite it to be, we're going to contemplate it. And I'm going to invite you now just to close your eyes. And this is where it's very useful to just be relaxed. When we're relaxed, when we just breathe, slow, full breaths through the nose, which is what I'm inviting. Slow, full breaths through your nose. Take nice, slow in breaths to a count of 5, maybe. Then just gentle pause. Just relax the breath. The technique I'm going to that I'm going to share with you quickly is it's the heart coherence technique, which helps us to access deeper wisdom. It actually helps us to access wisdom from an intuitive heart space rather than the mind. You know, the mind is the part of you that's introducing the dysfunctional behavior. So when we ask the question, well, why am I doing this? The mind might not necessarily have the answer. We want to go into a deeper space. We want to access the body's wisdom. So what I'm going to invite you to do just for a minute is to take nice, slow in-breaths to a count of 5 through your nose. And I want you to imagine that you're breathing into your heart. Using your imagination, just imagine that you're breathing into your heart to a count of 5. And then you just have a gentle pause at the top of the breath. And then you breathe out to a count of 5. Again, a gentle pause at the bottom. And breathe into 5. And just repeat and continue that breathing rhythm. And as you imagine breathing into your heart, you just relax your entire body. With each breath, as you imagine it entering your heart, you just feel the heart energy opening and expanding. Just filling your entire being, raising your vibration, expanding your awareness, just helping you to access deeper truth, deeper wisdom, helping you to access a space of non-judgment, knowing that every part of us is always trying to serve us in some way. Nothing's at fault. Everything potentially is there to serve us, but parts of us might still be carrying some wounding. And when we try to protect ourselves from our wounding, sometimes we do so in the only way we know how, which might be somewhat dysfunctional, might not be serving us, but it's there to try and help us. And we access the wisdom of the heart so we can view this perspective with absolute compassion and non-judgment. So just being connected into that beautiful heart space, into your body, I want you to bring into your mind now this dysfunctional choice, maybe this dysfunctional pattern that might be playing out repeatedly. Just identify it. And I simply want you to ask the question, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? What is this choice trying to protect me from? Just trust what comes up. How is this choice trying to protect me? It doesn't mean that it is able to do so in an effective, efficient way, but something within me is doing its best to try and support me, maybe trying to protect me through this choice, through this behavior. And we just want to understand what it might be. Even if the outcome has not been positive, what is the positive intention of this choice that I'm making? Just breathe. Let this breath take you deeper. Trust the wisdom that arrives. What is the positive intention of this choice? What is the underlying belief that this part of me holds that led to this choice? What is the underlying belief? It might be that I feel like I'm not good enough. It might be that I feel like I don't have the capacity. That the pain is too much to feel, so it's better to run from it. Just try to get a sense. All these dysfunctional choices and behaviors ultimately are coming from wounded parts of ourselves that haven't yet been fully integrated, seen, acknowledged, held and loved, validated. So just notice whether you can get a deeper sense as to where this might be coming from. Which part of you is needing this protection? If you can't access that depth, it doesn't matter. We just want to ascertain what is the positive intention of these choices that I've been making. And it's okay to trust whatever comes up. Once you've identified the positive intention, I want you to thank your mind for trying to help you in this way. Thank you for protecting me. Maybe making these choices in the past is what helped you to survive. Maybe making these choices in the past is what's helped you to get to where you are now. Your mind is such a loyal servant, always trying to do the best it can for you. So we start by acknowledging, thank you for trying to serve me in this way. And now we simply want to introduce a better way. We want to introduce a better way, and we want to get the mind on board, supporting us with a new choice. Knowing that it might take a bit of practice, knowing that it might require some additional support. Right now, it's just about identifying a better choice that will serve you in a positive way while still meeting the positive intention. So when you are ready, I'm going to invite you just to write down the positive intention behind the choice. What is this choice trying to do for you that is not currently succeeding in a positive way? And to give you an example that might help you, if, for example, and I'm giving you a real life example from me, from my own life, I spent a lot of time procrastinating. I still do to some extent. And procrastination is a dysfunctional choice. And when I sit with my procrastination and I ask, what is this all about? Where's it coming from? I developed understanding that there's actually a little boy inside me that still feels like he's just not good enough. A lot of rejection growing up, a lot of bullying. And this little boy doesn't want to experience that rejection again. And the mind comes in a very defensive way to keep this part of me safe and goes, okay, let's just not do it. Let's just avoid it. And then we'll be safe. So the positive intention from procrastination for me is to keep me safe from rejection. But I realize that when I procrastinate, it causes a lot of other pain in my life. And that creates, what we need to do is actually understand the difference between tension and stress. We need to move through healthy tension and allow ourselves to experience healthy tension to prevent unhealthy stress from showing up. So the positive intention of trying to keep me safe by procrastinating, when I look at the positive intention, it's keeping me safe from rejection. Then I can ask myself, okay, how can I show up? In other words, avoid procrastination and show up in this particular area that I'm procrastinating in and still feel safe. What can I do to still feel protected, but not procrastinate? And then I can start relying on other parts of me. Maybe I just need to prepare a bit more. Maybe I need to test my product on people that know me very well so that I'm okay being rejected by them, or not being rejected, but receiving feedback from them that might be constructive, that I'm okay with. I still feel safe before leaping into the unknown where this little guy inside me goes, no, rejection is going to happen. Let's rather procrastinate. So we identify the positive intention, keeping me safe from rejection, and going, okay, so that's what we're working with. How can I, keeping that in mind, still make positive choices that still honors that and supports that. So that's what we're leaning into. Okay, I hope that makes a bit of sense.